Baby, you the one I live for. Mommy's by your side till the end and through whatever. Yeah, this is our journey together. You're special cause you're different. Never let them tell you different. Yeah, you can rely on my love for forever. You and I against the world, against the world, yeah, against the whole world.
Hi, please be sure to watch the whole entire video. Towards the end, it gets real. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about IHSS, which is in-home support services. I kid you guys not, all week I've been dealing with in-home support services. Been helping people out. Some people are getting denied, and I've been wanting to make this video for a really long time, but I just haven't had the time to actually sit down and talk to you guys. But thankfully I have respite care and ABA upstairs with my little one, and so I'm able to record here in the car. So I'm like, maybe I might start recording here in the car, because this is you know, this is the only time I could actually record right now. But I definitely wanted to get this video in just because I've been getting a lot of the same questions, and I do want to help you guys out. This in-home support services is very it's a very emotional roller coaster, and for me it wasn't easy to get. And if you don't know what in-home support services is, you basically get paid to take care of your child. It's a legit job. You have to go through background checks, you have to go through like the whole fingerprints and stuff like that, training and stuff. So I will discuss that with you guys. Take note that the Medi-Cal waiver is definitely something you should get as an alternative if you don't qualify for Medi-Cal. If you were to ever lose your Medi-Cal, you lose IHSS as well. If you guys see that I'm looking down a lot, it's because I actually have my binder here. I advise that if you don't have a binder to store all the information that you're going through, definitely get one. It's just a regular binder, and what I did is I separated in different tabs. I try to be as organized as I can. The first tab, I have IEPs, so I have a actual copy of my IEP there in case I go to a meeting and I have to take this. They need a copy of it. I have it then in there. I have speech therapy for my second, occupational ABA therapy, his school, his medical records, and his IHSS, and then other like the miscellaneous stuff. If you want to know more about the binder, let me know in the comment section, and I'll definitely do a video on just about it. But going back to IHSS, it is very hard to get, but let's see what it's stated in the rights, disability rights of California. So if you don't have this, I would try to link it. It's not a link, it's more like a download. So I'm gonna definitely try to see if I could find a way where I could give you guys this handbook, like a PDF, or I don't know if I could put that in the description below. But it's called Disability Rights of California. IHSS is everywhere. Not IHSS is, there's other places that have it, but not everybody has this. So I understand if you guys are like, oh well, it's not in my area, that's fine, disregard this video. But it's good to know what other places have it, because if you ever move, this is something to definitely look into about getting. I will add that if you move counties, you will have to start the process all over again for the new county you're moving into. So definitely keep that in mind. So basically IHSS is a whole like a system. So you could get denied with the system and like in-home support services, and you'll have to reapply. However, if you get granted, like, okay, we're approving you for IHSS, but we're denying you in protective supervision, whereas it's a branch from IHSS where you get all your hours from. A lot of your hours come from there. That's where a big chunk comes. But like hygiene and stuff like that, like feeding and stuff, that's all part of IHSS. So you could get granted that, but then yet get denied protective supervision, which is really hard to get. Protective supervision, you guys, it's really hard to get because social workers be denying left and right. I swear. Anywho, I will definitely put the phone number on the description box of who I called. You could do it like a phone in like survey type of, not a survey, but you basically call and they'll ask you questions. You have to tell them like, I want to apply for IHSS. You call, they ask you questions, and then they tell you like, okay, well, we're gonna send out a packet for you to fill out. You fill it out, and then a few weeks later you get your social worker to come home and do like an assessment type of thing. So I applied in September. So when I applied in September, I didn't get my social worker to come out until December. So that took like about 3 months. Yeah, so that's what ended up happening to me. The process is a little bit long, and I knew right off the bat that like I had to do my research. The only reason I even knew about this was because of friends. No doctor, no social worker, nobody told me about this. Nobody really, I'm telling you, over here in California, it's really hard for you to get services because your doctor is telling you to get them, or because like your social worker is like, hey, you need to apply for this, and it's really hard, at least for me and from other people that I've heard. It's been a really tough road getting services and knowing about them. So I learned through this with my friends. I had one person tell me like, oh, I get paid for taking care of my child. So basically the social worker came and she's like, okay, she came, she did an observation. Jaden had to be here. They don't tell you what time they're coming. They'll tell you like oh, between 11 to 3. So you have to have your child here, and if your child's not here, they automatically like no. So of course Jaden missed class and he was here, and I remember that day he was jumping off the walls, you guys. He was like going on top of furniture. I had to bring him down. At that time he was going through a phase where he would break my eggs from the refrigerator. Take note, I had like 2 locks, and he learned how to unlock both locks. So he would go in there and he would like crack my eggs. So she was there when it happened, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta go. So don't feel bad if you feel like you're getting up so much for your child. They have to see that, you know. It's, you know, don't, I tell this all the time to my friends, don't give your child a tablet and have him sit there, because then they're gonna be like, oh, he's perfectly fine. In matter of fact, I always let my friends know, and people that I've talked to about this and that have got like approved for services, is you have to prepare your child for the worst day ever. And you as a mother should know that if your child doesn't go, like for instance Jaden, if he doesn't go to sleep at a certain time that his bedtime is in, and he wakes up like very late or very early, like it totally messes up his day. Those are little things that will have a higher chance of having a bad day. And I advise you to do that, because you want to see the social worker see your child in a bad day, so they see like it's hard. You know, you don't want to just give your child a tablet and bam, your work done, you know. You don't want that. So because then the social worker will deny you, and they will if they see that your child is perfectly fine, and is like, they'll deny you. So then the social worker went and she's like, oh, you need services. Like she was like, you need this, you know. I understand. So get this form. Let me see if I can find it here. Take this form. It is SOC 821, and it's called the Assessment of Need for Protective Supervision for In-Home Support Services Program. So let me, without giving Jaden's information out, let me show you guys what it shows. So this is how it looks like. Okay, you have categories here, his name and all that and stuff. You have it all here, right? And then there's these 3 sections right here: memory and orientation and judgment. So basically that's the form. So I went to my doctor, had him fill it out, and when I got it back, I was like, what is this? Like, he put autism on all categories, memory, orientation, autism. He didn't even try. So at that doctor's office that I was in, it's a father-son doctor's office. They both have the last name. So I knew that, well, at the time I was like, this guy is kidding me. Like, he didn't fill it out right. And I knew he gave me a copy. He didn't give me the exact copy I gave to him, because when you print it at his office, it makes a line. I'll show you guys right here about this line, because this line actually saved my buttocks. You see that line that goes straight across? Yeah, that line, it's because it was printed at the office. So he didn't give me the original one. He gave me a copy of it. Okay, so then, so you guys could see it on this paper, it has this, he just puts pretty much for the memory, he put unsure patient is 3 years old and unable to test. Patient is 3 years old. Patient is 3 years old, and puts autism all over it. Same length of time you have treated this patient since birth, and diagnosis and condition, autism. So if you see this, it's pretty much blank. Okay, it's pretty much blank. So then I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, okay, I'm just gonna submit it, no big deal. My social worker calls me and tells me, hey Natalie, just letting you know, I know you need the services and I think your child needs the services, but I'm just letting you know that my social worker told me that I had to deny you. The only thing she did tell me was it was basically because of his age. So she kind of hinted that it was the age, and because she then told me, like, you know, wait till he comes back to like at 4 or 5 years old and just reapply. So then I was like, are you effing me? So then I was like, okay, so now it's not even her, it's the supervisor, right? So then I was like lingering, and then she tells me, like, if there's one thing that I want to advise you, Natalie, is that someone's gonna contact you to try to do an appeal process. She's like, don't do it. She's like, because they're gonna wanna charge you an arm and a leg for it, and I think you're very, she told me that she thought I was very smart because I had some like background in being a paralegal and that I could probably find my own case. She's like, don't fall for it, then you're gonna be stuck with a big old bill. You don't want that, don't do it. So then I was like, man, this sucks, this really sucks. So then I'm like, you know what, I need to start doing more research. I need to start doing more research. You guys, like a week after, maybe 2 weeks after I got the notice of, it's called the notice of action, the NOA, I got it, and then that's when they tell me, like, oh, we're rejecting you for the protective services, right? So then I'm like, oh man. So I'm like thinking, okay, the issue is the supervisor. So I gotta contact the supervisor, okay? And then I started reading, which I should have done it from the get-go. I've done my research a lot more from the beginning and not let this doctor mess up my whole entire thing. Because I gotta admit that that paper that he filled out had a lot to do with it. He didn't do it right, and it was just a big old mess, right? So I started doing my research, and I started looking up the disability rights of California, which is what I'm talking to you guys about. In this section, it says children may not be denied protective supervision based on age alone, because the child has not had a recent injury, because the parent leaves the child alone for a fixed period of time, like 5 minutes. Okay, so pretty much they cannot deny you solely on age, or because there hasn't been a recent injury, because in that form it says like, oh, has there been a recent injury or whatnot, you put a yes or no. So this section is ACL 98 through 87. I don't know why they did it backwards. And in order to be qualified for and eligible for IHSS, there has to be 3 main things that you should focus on. 3 main things. So one is memory, which is forgetting things, people, places, or to start or finish the task. Orientation, which is inability to recognize and adapt to time, people, places, environment, surroundings, needed to live and complete tasks. And the third one is judgment, making decisions which put the individual's health or safety at risk. Okay, so those are the three main things. Okay, a mental impairment or mental illness that causes functional limitations. Okay, so those are the main three things. And then it says, and the impairments must cause the recipient to experience confusion and inability to self-direct his or her behaviors so as to keep himself or herself safe and free from harm and or injury. And that section is MPP 30 through 757 at 171. Okay, so given those facts, you guys know I was already a paralegal. When it comes to like the whole law stuff, it's all about elements. If you could prove that one element is not in there, you could prove the person's not guilty for it, right? So I was like, okay, and I have to have my paralegal mentality here. I have to prove that he has memory, that he has issues with the memory, orientation, and judgment. Okay, so if you guys did see the paper that I showed you guys, my doctor only put that it was 3 years old patient. 3 years old patient can't test. So he definitely messed me up there, right? So what I did after being denied, I called my my social worker, right? And I was like, I need to talk to the supervisor. And make a long story short, they didn't want to put me through the supervisor. They tried to put me through my social worker. But then yet they tell me, guess what, Natalie? Your social worker is no longer your social worker. She's being replaced by a different social worker, right? So now I'm getting transferred to this social worker number 2. And I'm talking to her like, hey, this is what's happening. And she has the nerve to tell me, well, if Jaden was my client, like if Jaden was my client, I would have denied him too. And I think he needs to be denied, like, because of his age, right? And I was livid. I was like, are you serious? Like, you know, at this point I was like, I don't need to talk to a social worker, I need to talk to the supervisor. But then they changed my social workers, right? So then I ended up complaining, and they ended up giving me my old social worker because she's the one that started the process. Therefore, she's the one that ends my process. So I'm going back to my new social, the first social worker, which is a lot better because she had a lot more understanding with my situation, because she's the one that actually went and did the assessment on Jaden, and she came, as opposed to the second social worker. She didn't know nothing about Jaden. She was only basing it off of all the paperwork and what I was telling her. So once I got through to her, I was like, I need to talk to your supervisor. She sends me to her supervisor, and I talked to her, and I said, I'm calling in regards to Jaden, last name. The reason for this call is because I just recently got denied for services. I told her the reason being was because of his age. Now under section, what was it, that MPP whatever, I quoted it. I was like, under section da da da, it says that you cannot deny solely on age of a child. So what is it, the real reason you're denying me? And I was like, you know what, like, I'm gonna fight this in court, and I'm gonna go through the appeals process, because, you know, I gave it a little bit of background. I threw the paralegal card in there. I was like, I did paralegal work. I left my job to be here to focus on my child, and I'm gonna fight for this. I told her, I was like, so let's just not go through the appeal process, not go through a big old hassle, and tell me why you're denying me, you know? I'm like, and top it off, I'm like, the paper that you guys received was actually a copy, and the paper is a copy because I could tell you that it has a line through it. I was like, it has a line through it, so technically you guys don't even have the original paperwork, and technically it's a father-son office. So the one that did the paperwork, because I truly believed it, the one that did the paperwork was not my child's doctor. It was the dad, and the dad has not seen my child. So the father was the one that ended up doing the paperwork, and he's not my child's doctor. So therefore, the paperwork was done wrong. And therefore, you're denying me solely on age, which you can't. So what can we do? So after talking to her for a good 45 minutes on the phone because of this, she tells me, okay, this is what I could do for you. I'm gonna send off those papers to you. Have your actual doctor fill it out, and have your actual doctor fill it out, and then bring them back to me, and then we'll go from there, right? So you guys, then I knew my doctor was the issue. I knew the doctor was the issue because he didn't fill it out right? So I called him and I was like, you know what? I even lied to the doctor. I was like, you know what? She said you did it wrong. So in order for her to accept it is if you fill out everything. You have so many blanks. You didn't even answer the questions. So they need for you to fill it out, right? So then he calls me because I left him a note with the receptionist. He calls me and he starts arguing with me and starts telling me like, what do you want me to write? I'm literally on the phone crying because I'm pissed off because this doctor is not like giving examples. He should, you know, give damn examples, you know. So I'm on the phone arguing with him and I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna get denied because of you, you know, because you are not doing your job by putting all this information down. I'm not. This is not okay, right? So he's like, what do you mean with memory? I'm like, Jaden hits himself. He self-injures when it's too much for him. He'll like hit himself. So I'm like, he hits himself, so he self-injures. Self-injuring, you guys, is a big deal when it comes to this. Self-injury is a big huge deal when it comes to this. So he starts putting examples, and I'm gonna show you guys the second one. This is a copy because of course I turned in the original one. This is a copy of the original one, but you could tell the difference in paperwork. He actually wrote something, okay? He actually wrote something. And during this whole entire time, I got a call, and it was an IHSS advocate, and she calls me. And you know what, you guys, in my particular case, I didn't need an advocate. I didn't need one. I was debating on getting one. I gotta admit, it was one of those things like, I don't even want to fight for it. If this is gonna be so hard, like, I just rather hire someone, right? She wanted to charge me $10,000. Now that's a little expensive. If you ask me, it's pretty expensive. So I was like, so what they do is, if you get money back, like from back pay, they'll take that money first from you, and then you get what the remainder is, right? So she calls me and she tells me, in order for you to get approved, he has to check mark severe on memory, severe on orientation, severe on judgment, and he has to put number 1, 2, 3 yeses and a good explanation for number 3. Okay, so that's what the advocate told me. My child had moderate on in the middle for memory, moderate for orientation, and judgment for mildly for judgment. Okay, he put yes on number 1, he put yes on number 2, and he put something for number 3. Anyways, so when she told me that, I was like, okay, I denied the services. I was like, I'm gonna figure out to do it through the supervisor, see if she's like, it's worth a try, you could try it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. I will mention some of the examples that was put in the paperwork, but I won't mention all of them just because this video will be super long. Put himself in dangerous situations, right? Has jumped in the pool, because I was on the phone arguing and I was like, I was like, he hits himself. He's like, that's normal. It's normal for kids to get angry and hit themselves. I'm like, yeah, what, is it normal for my son to jump in pools? Because it's just an itch of him. Like, he just wants to jump in pools. Anything that has to do with water, he'll jump in. Is that normal? So as soon as he said that, he's like, oh snap. So he ended up putting it in here, which I'm glad he did. He has a hard sleeping due to unaware of times, which is true. You give your child melatonin, because if not, your child is going to be awake up all night. Yeah, I have to give my son melatonin. The first year of his life, he would fall asleep because I would breastfeed him. Hence, the second year, when he was no longer being breastfed, he would go to sleep crying almost every night, because guess what? He couldn't go to sleep. It was hard for him. So then I was introduced to melatonin thanks to a friend, and I started giving him that, and thanks to melatonin, he's been able to go to sleep. It helps regulate his patterns for the day and his night. So he put that for orientation, and then for judgment, he put Jaden tends to injure himself and is at risk for jumping or hurting himself and going on top of furniture. That's what he put for judgment. Okay, and then number 1, it says, are you aware of any injury or accident that the patient has suffered due to deficiency in memory, orientation, and judgment? And then there was a time that he sprained his hip, so he put yes, sprained his hip by jumping off a jungle gym, which happened at school, so there is record of that. Does the patient retain the ability or physical capacity to place himself in a situation which would result in an injury, hazard, or accident? He put yes. Do you have any additional information or comments? Patient is 3 years old, diagnosed with autism, needs to be monitored at all times, and he has poor judgment and ability to put himself in danger. So that is one of the things that he ended up putting. As you could tell, paperwork has a lot to do with it. So after being denied, I actually got granted. I didn't have to go through the appeal process. I didn't have to go through none of that, and thankfully, even after being denied, I was approved for some hours. I'm not at the top level of hours, but I got a good decent side of hours. I get a paycheck every 2 weeks, just like any other job. This job is just, you could have someone else do it for you, come in and help you, or you could do it yourself. So I decided I wanted to do this myself and get paid for it. So that's what I ended up doing. A little side note, I have a big huge warning here because I am about to vent, you guys, so please excuse me, is that everybody else gets different hours. Okay, just because I got approved for such and such amount of hours doesn't mean you're gonna get approved for such and such amount of hours. You could get approved more than me, you could get approved less than me. So if there's ever a rumor saying that, oh, guess what, Natalie makes such and such amount of money, no. How do you know? You're basing it off of another person's experience because the other person's getting a paycheck that's might be higher, might be lower than my paycheck? No, don't assume how much people are getting paid for based on someone else's experiences or how much they're getting paid, because it's not true. It's not true. So let's just cut to the BS, and it's not true. And second of all, don't ever feel guilty because you are getting this type of services. Okay, if someone else is like, ooh, must be nice, really? Must be nice? Must be nice that I have to take care of my son and make sure he doesn't harm himself? Must be nice that I have to constantly make sure he doesn't jump into pools, because if he sees a pool, he'll run into it, like literally run and jump in? Must be nice that my son can't know certain information that your child knows? Must be nice, huh? Must be nice that he's always in harm's way, and then he could just cross the street, maybe even at 16 years old, cross the street, and it being like something that we're going through, and he could put himself in a situation where he doesn't even know he's putting himself in a dangerous situation. Must be nice, right? Right. So if there's any people that are judging out there for other people getting paid, you should be ashamed of yourself. And if you ever talk really bad about anybody because they're getting paid to take care of their child that has a disability, you should be very ashamed of yourself. Because I would take my child to do neurotypical things and me not to have to worry about his future any damn given day before I take a paycheck that I was already getting at a paralegal job. When I left my position because of certain situations to pretty much dedicate myself to my son, and only my son, and only like be his own advocate, be his voice. Don't you ever feel guilty, you guys, for getting paid and getting these services and taking advantage of them. Don't ever feel guilty, and don't ever let nobody bring you down because of it either. I've had people be like, that's how much I make, or that's how many hours I be putting. No, no. Unless you're in my position, you have nowhere, shape, or form to even criticize me or judge me, because I've been there, you guys. I've had people rub it in my face. Kid you not, I've had people rub it in my face that I get a paycheck. I've even had people make rumors of how much I make. Nobody knows how much I make. There's only like 3 people, not even my mom, knows how much I make. Okay, so all I'm gonna say is, don't ever feel bad. Don't ever listen to the rumors. And if you're one of those people that are actually, just because your friend or your co-worker or who, your cousins, prima friends, that getting paid, that doesn't mean your family member or your other friend is getting paid the same. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So that is something that I wanted to share, because when it comes to this, it really pisses me off, because this is hard. This is hard. It wasn't easy to get. I applied in September. I didn't get approved for services till March. Okay, I fought more than a few months to try to get this. It was not easy. I spent nights crying. I spent days that I wanted to give up. I spent days where I felt like maybe this wasn't supposed to be for me, you know. And I spent days doubting myself. But don't you doubt yourself. If you get denied, you reapply, okay? And don't let nobody deny you solely on age. I'm hearing this way too much, you guys. 90% of my friends that got denied was because of age. Read the paperwork. Read the paperwork, quote it, and tell them they cannot deny you. You guys gotta be knowledgeable. You guys gotta, like I said, you have to try to become a professional in all this. Start reading things. Start being like, okay, this is what it's gotta be done. This is because you don't want nobody slapping you guys around, denying you left and right. Okay? And if they deny you, stop the process. Go ahead and do it all over again. You want to try to go through appeals? Go through appeals. Do whatever it takes. Okay? But do not give up, you guys. Do not give up. Do not listen to the bad criticism. Shut them up. Okay? And some things are better left unsaid. If you're getting paid and you don't want your other family members to know, it's perfectly fine. Keep that shit on the down low. Okay, well, I really hope this video, guys, helped you guys a lot, and I hope that you guys were able to get some good tips. If you guys have any questions about this, please comment down below. I would love to talk to you guys. I would love to try to help you guys. This is what I went through, and I'm constantly trying to help others go through this and tell them, like, don't give up, you know. So if you guys have anything else to say, hey, comment down below, let me know. Please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. I'm all in here for the long run, you guys. I really want to help everybody out. I'm not a pro. I'm still learning as I go. I'm still learning from you guys. If you guys got any tips, got denied, got approved, please let me know. Maybe like those comments that, like, if you guys ever have any tips like that, put them down. There's other parents that are reading them. There's other parents that will benefit from those comments. So if you guys have anything to say that, you know, that you think would help the situation, or going through IHSS and getting approved, please write it down below, because it's gonna help another person next to you, you know. Anyways, thank you for guys watching. I actually gotta go because the supervisor's here for for AB, and I gotta talk to her. So I'll let you guys go, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Bye, you guys. Bye. Remember, this is our journey, you guys, and you're not alone.
This is our journey, yeah. This is our journey.